All right, we are back with our 2018 San Diego Comic-Con wrap-up video. Going to talk about what we saw at the con, both inside, outside, panels, some of those types of things. Lots about exclusives and freebies. I mean, that's where always our greatest interest lies. So definitely kind of frame everything around that, and we'll kind of roll from there. So what you're seeing in front of you is just kind of a sampling of some of the things that stood out more. I mean, there's a ton more of just kind of random posters and lanyards and comics. And if you've been to Comic-Con, you know exactly how that is. You end up with a lot of buttons and pins people put in your hands that you're like, eh. But this is some of the stuff that's got core, and also it is more importantly going to be things that we use to kind of frame the narrative for looking at 2019 and what are some of our guesses as we prepare for that. So whenever we shoot this video, we kind of use it as partly wrap up of that year's Comic-Con, but honestly even more so to look ahead for ourselves and those that are super into Comic-Con to be able to plan. So a lot of people we think will be watching this video. I know we'll rewatch this video in June next year as we prepare for Comic-Con. So let's start out about the floor and talking a little bit about pre-sales. This year there were a lot of pre-sale options from NECA, Mattel, Gentle Giant, and we participated in a couple of them. Mattel we jumped back into, so you don't see any of that pictured because it's going to be shipped to our house. Wanted that Action Comics Hot Wheels set, wanted the Aquaman, so did a couple of those things. And then with Gentle Giant, if you enter the Premier Guild, you have access to all of their exclusives online. They ship them to you. It's pretty fantastic. So something like that Boba Fett jumbo figure we have just being shipped to us. Now the membership is, I want to say it's around $160, but with that you get a gift the following year. So like in May, we will get another jumbo figure or something like that. So it's a pretty good deal all the way around for that. So you don't see any Gentle Giant or Mattel here, but there were a couple things that interested there. And that also kind of just comes into talk about, there was a big push this year at Comic-Con. I mean, I think the theme on the floor was the real push to have less lines, hence the lottery system. So as we start taking a look at things picked up, the lottery system, so I'll start out saying this. It won the lottery for Lego and Hasbro. Carmel did not win the lottery for anything. We entered for most signings because we genuinely would have gone to and were interested in most signings, and entered all of the exclusive slots for the same reasons. Now, Lego, I have never made it into the Lego booth. I've won the minifigure drawing several times, like the Collector and Bizarro and some of those, but never won, or I'm sorry, never put the time into getting into Lego booth. So this year, was able to get the Millennium Falcon and the Aquaman. Now, what was interesting on the final day, Sunday morning, in line for the Millennium Falcon, and they said, well, you can go ahead and get a second one, because I guess a lot of people didn't pick up, which is obviously kind of a flaw in the lottery system, that you're having to pick your spots before you know panels, and people are picking things, and then when the schedule comes out, they're like, well, I'm not going to go pick that up. I want to be in the Doctor Who panel or whatever it is. Now, Lego was allowing people to pick up at any time of the day. They had some issues getting people through lines. So, I mean, in general, I think Lego did a pretty good job with the system, though, because they did have a printed list. And we'll talk about that when it comes to Hasbro in a minute, because Hasbro did not seem to, maintain any sort of list. But so I started out with the Lego and talking about the lottery just because I'll just go on record, and I've said it on the podcast and all those things, is I think the lottery is here to stay for Comic-Con. I am ecstatic that I was able to win it, and there's a couple other ways that it benefited me. But I still, if there's a vote, I vote no on a lottery, just because I do not like the idea of taking any part of the Comic-Con experience away from people into a pure lottery. I do like the idea, if people want to sleep out on the cement, it's not going to be me. It's why I've never gotten a Lego set until this year. I feel like the people that sleep out on the cement should get the Lego set. So, obviously if I win the lottery, I win it, and I'm going to take the prize. But I just kind of feel like if you're going to go lottery, you got to go lottery then also with Ballroom 20 and Hall H. And I know that's a whole nother, I mean, people would burn the place down probably if they did that. But I just think it's one of those things when we're talking about, if we're really trying to get rid of lines, taking a section away of the con from collectors, not a fan of. But obviously I lucked out there, and I lucked out in some other ways with the lottery. Tried to find ways to kind of make it work for me once we got going there. So did get the 2 Lego sets. Super excited about this one in particular, just because I love Aquaman. I've always loved Aquaman. He's one of my characters. Now, for me, a big thing this year was Mego. The return of Mego, and specifically, well, I guess specifically the return of Mego, but then also Mego coming to San Diego Comic-Con. They had a booth over on 800. Marty Abrams got him to sign this new Alice figure. But Mego, if you're not familiar with it, kids, go Google it. It is kind of in a lot of ways, the beginnings of the modern action figure. And so to come back and fill in holes, so we finally have a Sulu and a Chekhov. It's like you've got your original 70s Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock Mego, and now you could buy a Sulu and a Chekhov to go with it. They've also done some figures like from Charmed and Facts of Life, and obviously Brady Bunch. Joe Namath was there with Father of Action Figures, Marty Abrams, and that was very cool. We got to see a panel with him there. I thought that was a really kind of uniquely Comic-Con thing to listen to Joe Namath talk toys and New York Jets football for a little while on a panel at Comic-Con. I really liked that. Now, they had a cool Joe Namath exclusive. Mego really started with Joe Namath, and they recreated that figure at Comic-Con, but it was $150 for the figure, and the it was a much larger figure, like a 15-inch, I think. But it was $150, and yeah, just couldn't justify it. So skip that. Now, heading over here and looking at one of the things I want to really point out for those looking into the books. I mean, this is an awesome, to me, release at Comic-Con, exclusive cover. It's signed by Zahn. Exclusive cover here for Thrawn Alliance. But what's interesting, what Del Rey did, they were amongst many booths. So we had Hasbro, Funko, Lego, and UCC were kind of in the lottery. They were forced into this lottery type system, or they participated in this lottery type system. Other booths, though, also had new procedures in place. Not sure if that was, how much of that was them wanting new procedures versus CCI asking them to, but Del Rey was one of those spots. So we ran over, got a wristband in the morning for the book, and then with it at Comic-Con, you're getting the exclusive cover, obviously the signature, and then you're getting a little cool pin there in the bag, and that was $45. So you get your wristband, so they didn't have a big crowd there first thing in the morning, and then you would come back with that later on in the afternoon between 11 and 4 to pick it up, or 11 to 5 or something like that. So interesting kind of procedure there. Same thing for Hallmark. We are used to, if you've heard our podcasts and videos before, our system for Hallmark has always been Carmel gets there, you know, we're there at 7 in the morning, we get on the floor, she gets in line, she waits an hour and a half, and she gets, you know, one of whatever the exclusives are. This year they started a ticketed system as well. So you know, jogged down or walked slowly down to the booth, or walked quickly, I should say, down to the booth. You get your ticket, you come back at 11:30 or 12, or I guess it was 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30. So then what they do is at 12:30, people who didn't claim their winnings, didn't come and buy their Hallmark items, then you could just line up at 12:30. So kind of interesting. They had a ton of stuff left over at 12:30, so I'm not sure if they didn't make enough tickets or what. It was fine with us, though. I mean, we got our ticket, and just, they were very good. Hallmark's always been really good about being organized. They just walked us to the front of the booth there. We got our stuff because we were there in our time slot. So from Super 7, picked up the Xenomorph Hammerhead kind of Star Wars homage figure. Just thought he was a lot of fun. The only thing we picked up at Super 7, they had some really cool, they always have really cool stuff. It's the only one we picked up this time, though, just because for the collecting focuses that we have, it doesn't always match up quite as much. Entertainment Earth, the big prize for us was picking up this new statue. I'm getting the variant version, but also the Pinmates. We are big fans of the Pinmates, Fisher-Price 70s fans of those, and so getting all these characters, I mean, in our house, in our front room, we have a Sesame Street Fisher-Price set all there, and so to be able to pick up modern versions of characters, I mean, they're not exactly the same, but I think they're as close as they can be, you know, a lot of fun there. Lin-Manuel and Toby, obviously this dog is very much reminiscent of the original Fisher-Price. Now we've got some mutants here. Also, I don't know what it was about this wooden plush puppet, but I guess it's just all the Thanos hype, but just had to get that. It was $9 and thought it was a fun little inclusion there. Now, going back to the lottery, let's talk Hasbro. Hasbro picked up a few things, obviously. The Magic set, Star Wars, both sets, Marvel Legends, both sets as well. Didn't do anything with Transformers. That's kind of been kind of a here or there thing. I really liked that Visionaries thing they did last year with G.I. Joe. I've picked up several G.I. Joe sets over the years as well. They didn't have any this year, so that's what we ended up with. Now, the lottery we won, what was it, Thursday at noon, something like that. They did have everything. Now, the interesting thing about Hasbro and planning going forward, they were just letting people in all the time. Every morning, if we were on the floor and just walking by the booth, they were letting people in without tickets. So I know there was a lot of concern of people that maybe didn't get their Magic set or didn't get the scooter, some of the things that sold out the earliest, the Transformer cards, things like that. And yeah, I don't think it was cool, but Hasbro did it. And Hasbro also did not have a printed list that they were checking. So they were just, Hasbro was just kind of doing their thing. And so that said, the majority of their exclusives were left. They did not have a lottery for Saturday or Sunday, and a good chunk of Saturday and Sunday were both walk-ins. So I think Hasbro was pretty easy this year in a lot of ways. But I don't know, it was kind of an interesting year because I think a lot of people were pretty lukewarm on the exclusives. I know for myself, the only one of these that I really am super into is the Vintage Collection Afra. I talked about that in our prep videos. The rest is like, okay. I mean, honestly, I may end up selling some because I opened up already the Red Skull set, and I looked at the Tesseract and the figure, and I just was like, oh, it's all right. It's definitely not as cool as I thought it would be, but it's all right. So very curious to see how that evolves, changes, etc. We were in at Funko Fun Days. The only point of why that's even included in this, because Fun Days, you know, it's a crazy hassle to get tickets to it. I think this year, Carmel and I both spent like 2.5 hours straight refreshing, just literally tap, 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 refreshing. But if you get in, they give you some really cool pops. And my weakness when it comes to Freddy Funko are, when it comes to Funko are Freddy Funko pops. So getting a Steve Stranger Things version of Freddy Funko, I'm a sucker for that type of stuff. Outside of that, we were able to get 2 of the pops from the Funko booth because one of our friends won the lottery. They had a Saturday slot, not a lot left to pick from at that time, but they did pick us up those 2 that we wanted, so that was fun. Also over at Bait, they had 3 pops this year. We had those, our friend Evic picked those up for us, and so that was awesome and appreciated. One of the ones we wanted the most, and nobody else seems to care about it, and that was expected. Inhumans are not exactly a hot property at the moment, but Black Bolt and Lockjaw, this duo, that was a Comic-Con exclusive and will be sold everywhere in the world and probably on clearance at most places soon. We picked that up as well at the previews booth, I think is where we picked that one up, but we like the characters. So that's kind of what we were stocking, what we were buying. Some of the things, you know, like Lego, I was really happy to get initially because I thought, well, I may end up being able to trade that Millennium Falcon set for the Afra or something like that, some sort of combo deal. In the end, didn't need to do that because between networking, luck, and just lottery wins, we were able to get the things that we wanted. But do remember, at the end of the day, there are a lot of booths that have really cool stuff and things that are fairly valuable to people. I mean, those Hallmark ornaments, we could have, I think, put together trades if we wanted to get something like the Marvel Legends set or the Thrawn book. I mean, most days that wristband was gone from what we saw on social media, and we were able to get that, and so that could have been useful as well if we wanted to value, let's say, the Red Skull set from Hasbro over that. So always try to find opportunities there. Now, as we move over to the freebies and swag and things like that, want to start out just with this wristband here, this little light up, simply because, as a reminder for me, we did 3 panels. We did the Mego panel, we did the WB theatrical release panel, and we did the Universal Pictures panel with Glass and Halloween. None of them gave anything except this to light up during the panel. It's just, it's been years since panels were really worth going to for swag. Not to say, I mean, Paramount, Sony did some cool stuff. I believe Bumblebee also, yeah, Paramount did some cool stuff there. There was cool stuff out there in panel rooms, but I think the days, and I've said this for many years, people a lot of times will tweet us saying, hey, what panels should we try to go to for swag? Don't go to any panels for swag, really, unless you have some sort of, inside info or something. It's not part of my planning. Gentle Giant, they've been doing these kind of different vintage cards, card backs and cards. We love collecting these. They're fun. Very easy to get. Just walk up to the booth. This was a really big deal to us over at Bill Sienkiewicz Art right there next to the Alex Ross booth. They had the exclusive new Halloween poster by Bill Sienkiewicz. And so you could scan your badge and get one. And then at the end of the con, they were just giving them out. So we got a few extras of those. We're going to do giveaways and things like that. They were just literally at 5 on Sunday. They were just like, take all of these if you can. But anyway, then for $5, you can get Sienkiewicz to sign it, which is just ridiculous and fantastic. And I wanted to get Sienkiewicz to sign something. He's such a fantastic artist. A lot of his comic art is just, super iconic. And so to be able to get him to sign something Halloween is awesome. So I don't have the signed version here. We have that all put away in the poster tube. That's the other thing as we get to the freebies. There's lots of like t-shirts and things like that we got that I've just already worn. And so they're just not on the lookout here. Over at the DC booth, only really picked up 2 things besides some random comics, but really liked both of them. The first was the Jessica Cruz Lego minifigure. I love this character. Love getting a Lego figure as a giveaway at the booth. They were just kind of sporadically handing those out. I know they handed them out at some panels as well. And then picked up the Aquaman shirt, which I thought that was super cool. I'm always a fan of getting a shirt. I already said earlier, I'm a fan of Aquaman, so I loved seeing that and picking that up as well. And they were just kind of coming out every so often, and they were being really good about bringing them out and then basically giving them to you based on your behavior. If you were trying to grab it out of their hand, they were like snatching it away. They had big security guards handing them out. So kind of cool, but also a little bit funny. Of course, we're fans of oddball stuff. if you follow along this, we had to get one of these. So managed to find one early on in the con. The seat covers from Deadpool. Genius marketing. Everything Deadpool is always genius marketing, it feels like these days, and had to get one of those. Over at Mattel, we've talked a lot of times about Mattel and their signings. They do a great job of putting together different types of opportunities. Picked up a little, you know, early in the morning type minifigure for Teen Titans Go. They were doing these each day. We got 2 of them, so we also have the Green Lantern. We didn't pick up the rest in the set, but Alex Ross art on these card backs, really awesome. Maybe we'll be hunting eBay, I think, to pick up the rest of those. Maybe, we'll see. This autograph signing, one of the lead designers for Hot Wheels, doing a lot of the Disney stuff, specifically what they were talking about at this visit. Kids were also in, if they were in that line, you were a child, you also got a Hot Wheels car. So we didn't get that, but we got the autograph, and the cool thing, we did like that. Lego had some awesome poster. I'm really in love with both of these posters. So first off, your MCU 10th anniversary, but Lego version, which is just phenomenal. And then I really love this. You know, 80 years of Superman, and giving the various interpretations all in Lego minifigure form. Very easy to get at the booth, constantly giving them out throughout the weekend. A lot of fun there. Oh, Lionsgate. So Anchor Bay, if you followed along, you know, like always, my most important freebie is these types of bags. We have them for many, many years now. These types of, and every year it's like, are they going to be there? It's always kind of this, you know, team up event. You know, last couple years it's been Ash versus Evil Dead with Walking Dead. There's been other iterations of that. We were curious, like, is it going to happen this year? And we could not find them. And then all of a sudden I saw somebody with one of them, asked her, she didn't hear me, she walked by, sat down somebody else, asked, and they said, over at Lionsgate Gaming. So we went over there. And the reason I love these so much, just to show again, they fit comics perfectly. I mean, these are just what we use at every convention, everywhere we go throughout the year. So these bags are like super valuable to us. Anytime we see them at a con, somebody selling them for $5, we end up buying them because we love them. But this year, they were not handing them out in stacks like they have in the past. They wanted something from you. And that was a theme, I think, across in the swag world, is a lot of people wanted to scan your badge, or they wanted you to listen to a demo. In this case, they were basically forcing us to play their Power Rangers game. So we had to stand in line, which only took like, you know, 3-4 minutes. It wasn't like it was a long wait. But we had to actually play the game, hear the sales pitch, and then they gave us each a bag. So we only did that once, so we're leaving with just 2 bags this year, which means we'll be hunting them, as I said, on the secondary market throughout the year. Then they were given, again, scan your badge. These lanyards with the codes for movie redeem. And so it's interesting, though, this like 100, I haven't really looked that much at these, but I love Flash Gordon, and these are kind of cool. I mean, I don't know what we'll ever do with them, but they're there. Marvel booth, we mostly avoided this year. That booth has just gotten so crazy nuts, but did pick up a few of these because I love, love, love when they give away swag that looks like it's something from the real world. So you give me a copy of the Daily Bugle, I'm definitely gonna want that. Now, in some of the random things we found, you know, Famous Monsters just stood, I just love Famous Monsters. Again, you scan your badge, you get a lanyard. Alex Ross booth, scan your badge, get a keychain. The reason I'm bringing these up over and over again, though, is because you really do need to walk all the rows if you really want to hunt the swag. I mean, we find things like the Cryptozoic cards, you know, Outlander, all the way down over in the 100s, 200s, and you just kind of walk in the booths. This was on, like, I don't know, 1200 or something. It's like, oh, I totally love Famous Monster. I'd love to have a lanyard that way. But it's just from kind of plodding along, walking the aisles. Hasbro, their Bumblebee sunglasses. You know, Hasbro always has little giveaways. Lots of posters, signings for Magic and My Little Pony this weekend. It was fun. Now, Dark Horse, to say, always say about Dark Horse is like a Dark Horse booth, meaning people just don't think about it that much. It gets very little lines, and they give away really great swag in general. I mean, the mask, lanyard, pins, they were giving away like crayons and coloring book type things, and a bunch of other stuff, Stranger Things posters, Stranger Things comics, but they also do all these signings that you can enter, and it's a lottery in the morning. You have to draw a ball and see if you win. Carmel won twice. So she won Mystery Science Theater 3000, and she got Felicia Day's, met Felicia Day, got her to sign it, as well as Todd Knock. And then she also won for Frank Miller, which is like crazy, crazy cool. with their drawings, they just hand you the wristband. They're totally transferable too. We've given them away, like I think we gave a Korra, we won a Korra one. I think maybe we both won. We got a Korra poster signed, and then we like gave one away as a giveaway on the floor and stuff. But they're pretty just relaxed. Of like once you win the lottery, and it's first thing in the morning, it's one of those things you got to do in the first 20 minutes of the show. But if you win, it is a great win a lot of times. Guillermo del Toro has signed there. Nathan Fillion was there this year. Joss Whedon as well, and then Frank Miller, the all-star artist, writer, been a director as well. But we ended up giving that away actually to our friend Evik, who needed just a couple signatures left on this classic piece. He's getting signed by all sorts of all-stars in the comic world. And we had to get to an offsite, which was Conan. And so we're getting a poster from, they allow you to get two things signed. He got the poster to bring back to us, and then he got his comic signed. Conan, we got the Hellboy pop this year. I think everybody knows about the Conan offsite, and it's a lot of fun. They're really great with timing. You get there, you get in. It's done in an hour and a half. Obviously, getting tickets is a real challenge and always a battle there. Some other little things offsite. Orville was doing free rides buttons. Over at the Experience, not a big pin collector, but I really like this Cloak and Dagger one. I think that's a really good, high-quality pin for a Comic-Con giveaway. The El Royale Hotel, creepy busboys, or bellhops, I'm sorry, out in the gas lamp, giving those away. Gifted, fun little mutant thing to see the wrap that they did a little bit easier. And then over here, Jack Ryan, again, I'm a sucker. He gave us newspapers, bottles. They had a really great escape room. Really long wait to get in there. On Jack Ryan, we fortunately had a media preview of that. So I as much fun as it was, and I liked it, the operations were really poor. So to finish off with a different offsite, I think Purge City to me is the model for all offsites. It was a big, high-capacity attraction with lots of interactive experiences inside. They brought in a ton of people. I didn't pay attention to what the pulse rate was, but they bring them in. You got 20 Purge dollars, and you got to shop. And you had people in there that were helping you shop. And do you want to get a card? If this is your first Purge, a little advice: try not to swing and miss. A replica of the 28th Amendment that has the Purge in it. Blue flower seeds, bags, bumper sticker. So you had your 20 Purge dollars to be able to walk around in there and buy things. But you also had actors interacting with you the entire time, asking how you were going to spend your Purge holiday, what you were going to do. And to me, perfect offsite is one that is high capacity, interactive, with good swag. And I felt like that was it. Now, it was a bonus because I really like the Purge movies. I think it's a fun, kind of interesting premise that they're working from. Excited about the USA TV show, so that was all a bonus. But even if it was something I wasn't interested in, I think that's the way, as much as I liked Jack Ryan, the Taco Bell offsite looked really cool. But when you have these things that are, demanding 5, 6, 7 hours, and then maybe you go inside, DC and Jack Ryan both did this. You go inside, then you wait in another line. And it's just like, so you're going to spend, in those cases, sometimes 2-3 hours to get in, and then you get in and you have another 2-hour line. Not my thing. I think that there's a much better way to do it, and I think Purge City wins the award of best offsite, in my opinion, for dotting a lot of I's and crossing a lot of T's in what they did. So that is kind of what we saw, kind of what we expect. Our big hopes for next year as it comes to offsites is more offsites that we'll use later hours. The Experience this year did that. They were open later into the evening, which is great, and I think there needs to be more of that. Hopefully they have more properties over there to attract people, but I think that's essential. I also think the way Leica does it, and opening about a week early, or at least a few days early, is the way to go. If you're going to build these structures, get more value out of them. Obviously you have to staff people, hotels, all that, but you've already put the money into the construction. Would love to see that, rather than it competing with the exhibit hall schedule and the panel schedule in the meat of the day at Comic-Con. I think being a partner would be a better way rather than a competitor. So hoping for that. In terms of the floor things, as I said, the lottery, not a fan of it. I think it's going to stay. It is what it is. All we can do is adapt to it, and that means that I have to continue using things like our Facebook group, attendee group, to try and make friendships within our own networks of friends already, letting everybody know what you want. At the end of the day, I'm really happy. I mean, I got everything and more that I was seeking out at Comic-Con this year. So I think, you know, when I talk about the lottery and not being a fan of it, it's not from a place of bitterness, because I think I got more. I would never have those Lego sets otherwise. I wouldn't have gotten those couple pops from the Funko store, because none of the people that I'm closest to are really that into waiting in that line either. So, you know, I really won out on that, but I still, you know, if we're going to take a vote, I would still vote no. If it's going to continue, a decline button, an amendment button, anything to really revise that, I would be a fan of. But at the end of the day, I've heard a lot of positive feedback about the lottery. So, you know, my opinion doesn't really matter all that much. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and wrap up here. It was a fantastic year for us. Hoping you all had a great time. I think even when things can get frustrating at Comic-Con, it's still about the best place in the world. So always very appreciative of it. I cannot believe the level of show that Comic-Con International puts together so consistently. The way they get people into places when there's such massive amounts of people that want to see and do so many of these things. So always a huge thanks to the staff and volunteers, obviously, for all the work they do, as well as the exhibitors. I don't think there's anything more intimidating in the convention world than being an exhibitor at Comic-Con, because that's just, I mean, such a financial stake in all the work they do. So huge thanks to everybody that put together an event that we were able to enjoy. Hope that you enjoyed it as well, and hopefully this will help you with your 2019 planning. Follow along with us. We'll have lots of visual guides. We will have lots of tips. We will have lots of giveaways throughout the years. We cover the intersection of pop culture, from conventions, you know, where Star Wars fits in with Disney, and Marvel with Disney, and DC, and Six Flags, and all these different things, Harry Potter, Universal. The Parks and Cons world is very integrated, so hopefully there'll be a lot of things that you're interested in. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.